Hey, welcome to the channel. It's Jack, the muscle and mobility maker with Stronghold Strength and Conditioning. And today, I'm going to be taking you through a wrist mobility routine specifically for boxing. So maybe you just started boxing or you're a boxer and you've had challenges with your wrists overall. We're going to cover that today. But before we get into it, make sure you take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Saturday, I'm putting out videos showing you how to resolve aches and pains, prevent injuries, and overall optimize your performance inside the gym and outside of it in your daily life and routine. And it doesn't get better than that. So take advantage of it. Ready? Let's go ahead and dive into this one. All right, like I said, today we're going to be taking you through a wrist mobility routine that's going to specifically focus on helping restore and strengthen your wrist for boxing. All right, the first thing we have to keep in mind with boxing is that there is a lot of compressive force at the wrists when we are hitting the bag, hitting the gloves, whatever it might be that you're working with, hitting the pads. This is what we're really working to address in here. And what we're going to do is show you how to, first of all, decompress and take a little bit of space back at the wrist so that there's not a lot of compression there to begin with. And we're also going to show you how to address the soft tissues around that are working really hard and stabilize a good position once we've opened up range of motion that you didn't have before, and make sure that that is lasting overall so those wrists are stronger and you're overall able to create a better punch that does not hurt you. The big thing to understand here is when we grip for a punch, the harder we're able to clench, that will actually help stabilize our wrist quite a bit there. So we do want to make sure that we are working our irradiation grip, making sure that we have our crushing grip that is a strong one, and that'll be in our stabilizing portion that we work on. But first we're going to address the joint and the soft tissues. Ready? Let's go ahead and take a look. What we're going to start with is a banded distraction. So the very first thing we want to do is anchor a band low on a post and place it at the back of the wrist. From here, we're going to go ahead and pin the banded hand down to a bench so that it's at an elevated angle and the band is pulling from a downward angle there. I want to pull my hand and wrist apart from one another, creating space before I go into a full extension. So that's what you see me doing here. Pulling back, wiggling the wrist a little bit, trying to create some room at the wrist, and then taking it into a deep extension. Again, our whole goal here is to decompress the wrist and give it as much range of motion as possible. The next one we're going to do, keeping the band in the same position, is step over and rotate all the way around. So the wrist is still an extension, but we want to get the shoulder in a full external rotation. So the arm's locked out, we're sitting nice and tall here. We're just allowing this to passively give us a nice, good stretch here. You'll feel that pull at the front of the forearm that's facing us right here as well. Now our last one with the band, same anchor point. We're going to place it on the inside of the wrist this time with the palm facing up. So here I'm palm to palm. And the movement I want to do is a screwing movement of the elbow into the ribs. You can see this all the way up to my shoulder, and this will even benefit your shoulders as well. So make sure that you take your time, feel it all the way up into the shoulder and upper back as you're performing them. Next, we're going to move our band up to about hip height on the post. This time I want to place it at the back of the wrist and then interlace it over my palm between my middle and ring finger. I'm going to pull myself away, and the very first thing I want to do is let that band take my arm so that it becomes in tension all the way into the shoulder there. So it's a nice stretch through the full length of the arm. I don't want to feel myself contracting against it. I want to think of traction here to allow the space at the shoulder, at the elbow, all the way through the wrist and hand. So I'm not even gripping here to make sure that everything's nice and relaxed. The only thing we're going to add is that rotation in internal and external rotation. The next position, while it's still around the same place on the wrist, I want to go into an internally rotated position around behind my low back. From there, I'm just going to do small little wiggles as I allow the wrist to really relax and the forearm to relax and get pulled away from the rest of the arm. This helps anchor the arm and give it a little bit more opportunity for the wrist to separate and create space. Next, we're going to do a little bit of self-myofascial release using a lacrosse ball to the palm here. So again, irradiation is very important. This is a great way to make sure that you're able to grip well, that everybody's functioning well in the hand so that you can grip strong. So first of all, we want to roll from the base of the thumb outward and kind of pull the tissue from the center away. You might get some clicks, pops, and whatnot. And then from there, we also want to take it under the knuckles of the hand. You can see a wave forming as I roll from one to the other and then back again. So play with those. And also addressing the forearm here, I'm using a barbell and an elevated surface. So a couple blocks works nicely. If you have a yoga block, that can work. We want to elevate it so that we can have the movement of the wrist here. And I'm pinning down the tissues with the end of the barbell. We're using the weight to provide that self-myofascial release here. And then I'm just taking it through various different movements: rotation, flexion, extension, playing with supination, pronation, all of those at once. Getting those tissues and using even a pressure wave along those tissues where we can just roll that bar down, in, and then back from there. If you notice any tender points to the tissue, those are the ones you want to stick on and move the wrist through at that point. Finally, we want to stabilize with grip strength and a little bit of rotation at the shoulder. So here I'm using CARs, controlled articular rotations of the forearm here and wrist. So I'm gripping the ball as firmly as I can, and a lacrosse ball works well because it's got that rubbery feeling, so you can get a nice squeeze on it and really feel yourself trying to crush the ball. You could use a tennis ball as well here, that would also work, but really focus on clamping down, locking that in, and then maximizing as much of a circular range of motion as possible in both directions. It might start out sounding crunchy, crackly, all those things, but it should smooth out as you continue that motion. Spend about 1 minute here in one direction and a minute in another direction, working both ways. Our next one is a kettlebell twist. So you want to establish a nice solid crushing grip on the handle, and then you're going to go into a bit of a bent row position, but we're just letting the weight hang as we internally and externally rotate. Now you're going to get some momentum from that bell as you swing it back and forth, especially if you have the appropriate weight to work with here. So you should feel that the bell actually takes you a little bit deeper into your internal and external rotation. The nice thing here is that we're not compressing as we're doing this. We're also getting a little bit of a traction effect, but keeping that grip strong throughout is very important. So as you start to lose your firm grip on the bell, then it's about the time to switch sides and focus on the other side until you end up losing your grip on that side. Keep going back and forth and really work this one for up to 2 minutes. Our last one is a kettlebell bottoms up screwdriver. So what you want to do is use your free hand to help assist the hand that's holding the handle to get the bell into a bottoms up position. From here, we're going to start just by holding, and then you can add internal and external rotation. My goal here is to keep my shoulder blades pulling back into the floor, my butt tight, my stomach engaged, and I'm focusing on just letting that weight sit directly over the shoulder. Now, as you add the rotation, take your time, keep a crushing grip on that handle, making sure that we are getting that irradiation as we add the rotation, and just subtle movement, little slow adjustments you'll feel your body making. You can see them happening here, and really controlling the movement as much as possible. All right, and there you have it. A simple mobility-based approach that you can use to help restore function of your wrist overall and stabilize them so that when you're hitting the bag or competing, you're not struggling with wrist pain. If you like this video, make sure you let me know by clicking that big thumbs up down below, and take a moment to share this one with a friend. Maybe they're a workout partner or a teammate. Pass it along their way so that they can stabilize their wrists as well. If you're somebody who struggles with a training ache or injury that's been hindering you from training the way that you really want to, or at the intensity level that you want to, what I want you to do right now is drop down below in the description to fill out a coaching application and schedule a mobility blueprint call. This is our opportunity to get on a Zoom call together to do a quick mobility assessment, to look at where you're missing movement and have needs. And once I have all that information, we'll be able to describe what a tailored program would look like for you and how we'd be coaching you through that process. If that sounds like something that would be helpful to you to get you out of the current state that you're in, go ahead, drop down below in that description, fill out the application, and get your call scheduled. Last but not least, if you have not already, make sure you take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Saturday, I'm putting out videos showing you how to resolve aches and pains, prevent injuries, and overall optimize your performance inside the gym and outside of it in your daily life and routine, and it does not get better than that. Welcome to the Stronghold Army. We'll see you next week.